All right, welcome to Booster Bench Part 1, where we're going to start drawing different parts of a project that we're going to be completing later, which is called the Booster Bench. And most of the plans, most of the dimensions that I'm going to be using are going to be coming from this set of plans that you hopefully have in front of you or would also be available on Google Classroom. So let's go ahead and get started. I think the first thing we need to do is make sure we're familiar with some of the terminology of some of the parts for the booster bench. It's really pretty simple. It's only 3 parts. Let's take a look and see each one individually. This is going to be called the booster bench leg, and that's how you should save it when you create it using Onshape. This is the booster bench top. You can see there's 2 holes in the top. There's also 2 holes in the leg to attach it. Okay, there's the top. And lastly, the booster bench stretcher that spans from leg to leg and gives the top something to screw into. You can see these little holes in here. Eventually, we'll get to the assembly as well and creating some plans of our own. But let's go ahead and get started by creating our first part, which is going to be the booster bench leg. So using Onshape, making sure you're logged in to Onshape, I'm going to go ahead and I am going to click on this create button. And I am going to create a document. I'm going to hit cancel here. I'm going to redo that here. We've got a Principles of Technology folder set up in Onshape. We do want to create a folder called Booster Bench. So let's go ahead and just create, for the purpose of this video, I'm going to create a folder and I'm going to call it Booster Bench Videos. And I'm going to hit create. So these are going to be all the videos I do with you, these tutorial videos. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that. It says there's no documents in here. That's quite all right. But I'm going to create a document. And the first one is going to be called, we're just going to call it Booster Bench Parts. And we're going to create. Which brings us to the main interface for Onshape that you should be familiar with by now. Looking over in the bottom left corner, it says that this is called Part Studio 1. I said this is going to be the booster bench leg. So let's go ahead. I'm going to right click on that and I'm going to rename it. And there we go. We'll just click off of it to finish that renaming. All right. Now, the other thing that I'm going to do before I get started is I'm going to think about, how does the leg sit? Okay, how does the leg sit in its natural position? Because that's going to dictate how, let's take a look here, how I draw it, what plane I draw it on. So right here, that's sort of its natural position. So let's go ahead. Let's go back to Onshape. And I'm going to select this front plane. I'm just going to left click on it when I have it highlighted. And I'm going to select Sketch. And what that does is it lets me be in a sketching mode. If I don't want to look at these other work planes, which I don't blame you if you don't, I am going to hide them by clicking on the little eyeball over in my browser. There we go. All right. Now to draw the leg, There's multiple ways you can draw it, first of all. There isn't just one way. But if you're going to draw it with me, you can go ahead and draw it using the rectangle command. I will snap to the origin, and I am going to draw the outline of the leg. All right. So the width of the leg, if I look at my plans, is 7.25. And the height of my leg is 6 inches. So this is the outline of the leg. So there was a lot of different ways we could go about drawing this. I'm going to go ahead and just draw a couple lines that go from the corner. And I want to make sure I snap to this top line. Right click escape. And I'm going to get back into the line command. I'm going to draw these angles. And of course, they do need to be in a specific spot. Okay, they can't just randomly be placed. So let's go ahead and add a dimension. Hit the shortcut key of D if you wanted to do that, but we're going to go endpoint to endpoint. And I want this dimension to be 1 inch on both sides. All right, we've got most of the leg drawn. We're going to go ahead and put an arc on the bottom. An arc could be drawn using a circle or the arc command. If we look over here, this is circle, this is 3-point arc. Let's go ahead and use 3-point arc. And with a 3-point arc, I will select where I want it to start. So about right here. Where I want it to end, about right here. And I can set the radius of the arc. So I'm going to go ahead and just kind of randomly choose a radius like that. Notice it's asking me to define the radius. I'm going to choose 2.75. And just like we dimensioned these endpoints on the top, we are going to dimension these endpoints on the bottom. So I want this to be 1.5 inches from the left and 1.5 inches on the right. That's looking pretty good. I think we are done with what we can do for the leg right now. So let's hit the green check mark, finish our sketch. And we really have 4 different entities, 4 different profiles that we could extrude. Okay, we will click on extrude, click on this main part right here. Now, if that doesn't select, you probably didn't draw these lines all the way to the existing rectangle. So make sure you kind of go back and make sure you've done that. The thickness of this, so here's the depth, okay, is going to be 0.75. And I like to extrude back. I don't like to extrude forward. It's just kind of a personal preference. This is going to be a new shape, and I'm going to click on the green check mark. All right, we are almost done with the leg. I'm going to get rid of this front work plane. Get sick of looking at that. And the only other thing I need to do is I need to add the holes where the screws go. The types of holes that we're going to use are called countersink holes. Those are for wood screws to kind of set into. And so to add those, let's go ahead and create a sketch on this surface. I'm going to left click on it, click on sketch. And there's 2 screws that go into the side of the leg. I'm going to represent those right now with a point. So this little dot right here, I'm going to find the middle of this line and just drag it down. It's kind of a cool feature. It lets you find the middle. I'm going to left click, and I'm going to do the same thing again. I'm going to left click. So those are 2 points. And I want those points to be in a specific spot. Okay, so from this line, I got into dimension. From that line, I want that one to be 2 inches down. And from this line to that second point, I want that to be 0.75. We can go ahead and finish our sketch. So those 2 points are going to turn into screw holes. And to do that, I'm going to find the hole command. So if I look up at all these features, there is a hole command right here. We can make different types of holes depending on what we're drawing. I'm going to draw a countersink. Okay, countersink hole. It is going to be through the entire part. I don't want it halfway through. I want it through all. And I'm going to select these 2 points. Now you can see I've got these countersink holes. The holes are there, but I'm not sure that they're the right size. So let's take a look right here. This first graphic is telling me the size of the hole, the smaller hole, and that is 0.125. That is correct. The size of the countersink is 0.375. That's correct as well. And the degree is 82. Perfect. This is all set up. Hopefully yours is set up like that as well. If it is, let's go ahead and click on the green check mark. You can rotate it around, see those holes go all the way through. And we're almost done. We're almost done. We want to give this leg some color. We don't like to keep things in traditional default gray. So to find a color, we're going to go ahead and click on this appearance button. There it is right there. It looks like little color swatches. And by default, it's this kind of grayish blue, but you can double click and really pick whatever color you want. I'll pick yellow. Click on this again to hide it. And our booster bench leg is complete. And that is part 1 of the booster bench tutorials.